Thank you as always for listening to Caleb vs. Self. Today get a chance to speak with Aurelien, known locally every year as the Santa Surfer here in Western New York. Super passionate about Great Lakes surfing as a whole. We talk about him moving from France to America, how he started surfing in the Great Lakes, and how the future of his sport is in building the community. You can find him on Instagram at Ocean America. Hopefully you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. It was a fantastic time. Check him out on Instagram, and if you're out here in Western New York, keep an eye on the lake because you might see him riding some waves. All right, Aurelien, thank you again. This is round 2, right? We're going to try this one again. We had a little technical difficulty last week, but we had a really awesome, cool conversation. So up front, I'll apologize if some of these questions are the same from last time, but I'm still super excited to get a chance to talk to you.
No, for sure. I am too.
So for those of you who might not know Aurelien, or as some people know him as Frenchie, some other people might know him as the guy that wears Santa Claus suits surfing in Lake Ontario from time to time. That's how I found him in the Rochester City newspaper. And when I started doing a little digging, I was completely fascinated about Aurelien's story, how he ended up here. So let's start from the beginning, right? Born and raised in the south of France. How did you end up here in Rochester?
So in 2006, so quite a few years ago, I can't believe it. Time goes fast and time flies by, but I just decided to change my life. I was living in the southwest coast of France and trying to make a living, but I was more thinking about surfing a lot. So it was hard to keep a job, but I needed to put that off my system. I just wanted to live my dream as a young man and surf a lot of great wave in that beautiful part of France that is very consistent with surfing and very special to my heart. But like most of those beautiful places, it was very touristic, very seasonal, very expensive, not that many jobs. So it was a little bit challenging. And then I got the opportunity to travel to United States, for multiple reasons, and decided to stay to challenge myself and to explore and to try to follow my dreams. So here I am in Rochester on Lake Ontario.
Of all the places you could be in the United States, this one is probably a little more random than most. But when you made that decision to come over here, did you know any English at all? Was it really rudimentary? How does that happen when you step off the plane or you get to a place and you're not maybe familiar with the language? How long did that take you to kind of get acclimated to just being in America?
I didn't know, really know English at all. I didn't speak English and I had absolutely no money. I had 2 surfboards and they got stolen. I had contact of people I knew, of course, that welcomed me, but it was extremely challenging. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know anything about Rochester, upstate New York, about the United States, about the culture, about the language, about the politics, I knew nothing. And I was just a young Frenchman with 2 surfboards that just, showed up and said, "Hey, what's up, America?" And I had to kind of understand what I was doing here and define my goals. But more importantly, I struggled tremendously to adapt and I went back and forth and it was hard. It was just difficult to learn the language. It was difficult to adapt to the culture. It was very difficult to understand what I was doing in Rochester. It's quite a place that I did not like at all. It was very cold and it was nothing that I was used to. I didn't have a car. There's nowhere I could walk to. It was I was depressed. Literally, like I had some time where I felt depressed and lost and confused. But time is everything, and then I don't know what people believe. I don't encourage anyone to believe in anything, but I had faith regardless, and I feel like I've been helped and guided to the right places and met the right people, and developed a better attitude towards the place I was and started loving it. And that started when I met Lake Ontario, and that was a love story and blew my mind away when I realized the size of the Great Lakes. And then of Lake Ontario and that body of water that was right there. And I'm like, wow, this is
Mhm.
quite an interesting lake. It's a big lake. It's not like a, a small lake. It's big.
Right.
And when I surfed it for the first time, that's it. I made my, it gave me some light and it gave me a reason to be, it sounds very maybe selfish and maybe very random, but I'm like, all right, that gave me a reason to be here.
Well, I definitely get that, but also part of that depression, I would imagine, is both your surfboards being, I don't want to say stolen, but they disappeared when you got here. So it's two less things that you have, right,
Correct.
when you get here. So from that point, how is it that you come to say, "Hey, this is a good idea. Let me drop a surfboard into Lake Ontario." Did you meet some people? Did you like how did that happen?
Well, first, I want to, if you don't mind, before I
Yeah.
answer the question, I will tell you a quick story that is really fun. I don't think I told you that, but I did a lot of phone call. I was really, really mad and very depressed that my surfboard got stolen, and I was trying to at least get reimbursed. But my idea was to get the surfboard
Mm,
back, but I was trying to get reimbursed at least so I can buy another one, right? Because I really didn't have much at the time, like nothing.
right.
And so I kept calling and calling the company called KLM, if I remember well, KLM. And then I keep calling them, and they keep telling me there's nothing they can do for me. They cannot locate the boards, and they can't reimburse me, and blah blah blah. And I was really, really perseverant and really like mad. And I kept calling and calling, and I called so much KLM in the airport in JFK because I assumed that's where I landed. That
Right.
they were stolen somewhere there. I was starting to tell them, listen, I'm losing patience. You really need to reimburse me. That's not fair. I'm an immigrant. That's all I came with. That's so important to me. I don't have money. At least send me something. And they will keep telling me there's nothing they can do for me. And then one day I insisted too much that they literally called me at the place I was staying and said, listen, if you keep calling, we're going to send the authority to you. And we're going to send, I don't even know I'm going to mention the name, but I'm sure you understand. They said, we're going to send them to you uh,
Mhm.
because you need to stop calling the airport. And you need to stop being aggressive towards an airport because we lost the surfboard. Because I was getting really mad. So, but I was not mad the way that I was being, dangerous or anything like it. But
Right.
um, and then one day after, I mean, maybe a couple of weeks after that, they called me and they said, well, we found your surfboard. And I'm like, no way. And then we found it, it's coming by UPS. And I was like, wow. But I'm like, what do you mean my surfboard? It was two. And they said, well, we found one. I'm like, well, it's better than none.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then the place I was staying at one morning or afternoon, I can't quite recall the time of the day. I was waiting for it. I see the UPS truck parked, and I'm not kidding. Like the UPS guy that had nothing to do with that. There was a very nice guy walked with package that looked so small that I'm like, that's not my surfboard. And then I open the door and I look at the guy, and then I look at what he had under his arm, and I'm like, oh no, way, are you kidding me? It was like it could have been the worst joke in the world. I told the guy, I said, listen, I don't even need to look further. I know what you have under your arm. I know you're doing a job. It's not your fault, but please, can you go? Because this is like pissing me off so much because it's not my surfboard. It was a bodyboard for kids
Oh
so
no.
small. Like, and I'm like, I know it's not your fault, but that's so ridiculous. I was so looking forward to my surfboard, and I know what you have now. It's just really not my surfboard. And I said, thank you so much for coming, but please just tell them that's not what I'm looking for. And then that's it. Um, and then I fought again, and then they reimbursed me, and I was able to buy a surfboard. So
So they didn't. You called one more time and
yeah,
they didn't call the authorities.
I called again, and I said, you know what? The guy came with a bodyboard, and it was like a thing for child. I said, it's not even fair that you guys would even do that. When I described it, the boat to be 6 feet, I said, have some common sense and respect. And I said, so they sent me $600, and I bought a surfboard and a skateboard. And I still have the skateboard. The surfboard, I used it and sold it. And then the skateboard is really cool. I bought it from California, and I still have it.
Is it a longboard or like like a?
Oh, man. It's not a long board. It's like
It's not
the longest skateboard you would ever see. It's
really.
so long. So long. It's huge. It's taller than me.
Do you still take that board out? Like, do you still go right around hills
Yeah.
and stuff?
Yes, it's cool. I take it. maybe, you know, a couple times a year. Just it's a very special, cool bird. It's really cool.
Yeah. Is it like 6 foot, 7 foot?
It's at least 5'7", or, you know, yeah.
Jeez.
And it's super flexible. When you're on it, you
Right.
kind of jump and it's loose. It's so cool.
So for those boards, and I don't mean to sidetrack us, but on those boards, because you just showed me you had another board under your feet there, do
Yeah,
you have your trucks, do you put your trucks really loose to emulate surfing, or do you have real tight trucks?
no, I have tight trucks, but I have the skateboard I was riding today. Actually, I went to the park today and I ride my skateboard. It was made out of sustainable fishnet, recycled from the ocean, and it's the partnership of. It's not the one I have in my hand now, but it's another one. But yeah, the truck is super loose and it's designed to simulate surfing motion, and it's an amazing feeling and workout, and you can make really sharp turn. It's really excellent.
Nice. That's
This
really
is
cool.
a
So
duplicate of the. This is a duplicate of a hobby skateboard. It's a duplicate of one of the first skateboard.
really,
Yes,
so like back when it was literally a toy for children and not like the industry that it is today.
correct. So that was really like, you know, it's very narrow. It's very small. It's a beauty actually.
Does it? I'm assuming that one, because you use it, that probably doesn't have clay wheels, does it? Like the original.
No, but actually the one I have under my feet, I've never used it. I keep it new in my
Oh,
office.
really? It's the
Yeah,
office one.
correct.
Nice. So to go back to where we kind of jumped off, how is it that you end up? So you get your reimbursement, you buy another surfboard. How do you end up in Lake Ontario? And not only that, how do you end up in Lake Ontario in the middle of winter when there's not too much ice?
Yeah, so actually, my first surfing experience was not in the winter, but in the fall. I will
Okay.
remember my entire life. I was home, and my way to learn English was to watch a lot of TV, things that I don't necessarily do in life, but I do enjoy a lot of. I like movies in the evening, you know, when the day is done. I really enjoy movies, action movies or documentaries, but I don't watch news, or I don't watch a lot of TV, and I don't watch TV during the day ever. But my point, when I was an immigrant, I did a lot of that because I didn't have a car. It was far from everything, and of course I would go in the outdoors. But I would watch a lot of TV to learn the language. That was my way to learn English, and that's what helped me tremendously. And one day I was watching TV, like I said, and the news weatherman was talking about this big Ernesto. I remember the name for the rest part of my life. Hurricane Ernesto. I
Okay.
think Hurricane Ernesto was in 2006 or 2007. I would have to look at it. But um, yeah, so he was showing the intensity of this storm coming on the East Coast, and he was showing the map of Lake Ontario. And I was like, holy moly, this lake is huge. And at the time, I've never seen the lake. I'm like, oh, come on, that's like a few minutes from home. This thing is enormous. And then he's showing the intensity of the storm with the wind that will pick up from the East Coast to upstate New York. And I'm looking at that, wow, a big body of water and such an intense storm. I mean, there's a chance that it will create something, a wave.
Hmm.
And so I drove that day with a car that I borrowed. And then I went to the lake. And in Rochester, where I live now, I can almost see that place from my home. I mean, it's funny enough. Um, and then I went there, and it was like not a big wave, but like 3 to 4 feet, perfectly clean wave breaking. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I could not believe what I was looking at. And actually, two guys were surfing. And I've never seen those two guys ever again. They were surfing, and it was not that cold, but it was still a pretty cold water based, you know, on what I was used to in France.
Right.
And I had nothing, and I had, you know, I actually did not even have my board. And then I just remember seeing those guys surfing, and I wave at them, and I said, "Can I borrow your board?" And like, dude, it's cold. You can't go the way you are. I'm like, I'm just gonna go in the car and take things off and just go and surf, right? And I did, and I was frozen. I was super cool, but I caught a few waves, and I loved it. And that's it. It was
So no wetsuit, no wet shoes, nothing. Just
nothing, and it was super super cold. And I caught some 3 4 foot wave, amazing with those two guys. One of them was actually a UPS driver, and I've never seen him again. And the other one, none of them I can't remember the name, but they were very nice people. They surfed decently well, and they were having fun. And yeah, like I said, and then that's it. It was beginning of a love story, and I just learned about forecasting and winds and gray lakes and different lakes and different events and community and friends, and start searching for the perfect wave and exploring and driving and meeting people. And we did so much over the years, creating competitions in Canada, all the way to the East Coast. I mean, the community has grown tremendously from that time. And that's it. It's just a love story. And then now I surf. I'm proud to say I surf 4 of the 5 Great Lakes. And Lake Ontario is my home, and surf most of it, and still so much to explore.
So which one's left? I think you've done Huron, right?
I
Michigan?
correct. Huron quite often. I really love that place. Michigan, I did it once. I'm looking forward to do it again. As a matter of fact, probably this year. And then I've of course done Lake Erie, Lake Ontario on a very regular basis. And I'm missing Lake Superior because it's quite far.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment, but it's the big guy, and there's quite a very strong surfing community with great surfers, and they have amazing wave, and I'm just so looking forward to go. It's been in my mind for ever. It's a big commitment. You have to fly your boards, um, you have to be on time, and it's super cold when the storm happens. So yes.
So you were talking about as well, like competitions and um, hosting them, making them, being a part of them. And I know you have a buddy, I think his name is Ryan, and you had posted a long time ago about him and competing. And in the quote, or what you wrote, you had said that you wanted to try to hopefully win a competition when you're 60. Do you still feel like you want to try to keep doing this all the way up until you're 60?
Yeah, probably more. I have friends who surf who are much more than 60, and they compete, and they're really good. But yeah,
Really?
no problem. 60, yes, no problem. If you eat the proper diet, and more importantly, you keep in motion, you keep moving. Um, the only thing, do you want to surf a lake at 60? It becomes harder. I mean, the suit and the cold and the wind, that's a different story. But surfing at
Right.
60 sounds pretty, honestly, sounds very realistic. And I don't see an issue of that. But yeah, I would like to keep um, pushing myself and growing. We talked a lot about that, but life can take you away from those things and from the desire to play or challenge yourself. And it's easy to be distracted with responsibilities or other things, but there's no reason why a human being at 60 cannot enjoy the outdoors. I mean, with technology or days, and people are having better health and ability to, take care of yourself. I mean, 60 is still, if you look in the outdoors world of athlete, there's a lot of people at age 60 that look amazing and feel amazing and do so much, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, whether it's ultra marathon runners, whether it's surfers, skateboarders, they're definitely the longevity is there for sure. But what interests me about you talking about wanting to do this all the way up until you're 60 is, and I know we talked about this last time, but the Hyperflex video and what you talked about, surfing during a storm and that challenging you. Do you feel like when you do that, that kind of contributes to you being able to have that type of longevity? So, in other words, because it's so challenging, because you enjoy that pursuit, does that make it easier for you to keep going and keep doing it and keep pushing the envelope?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Realistically, I don't have an answer. I have moments where I'm wondering, am I doing something bad for my body? I don't know. Or am I doing? But I love it so much that I do it. But actually, I quite feel good. So, and I just surfed, and it was cold, and I felt super fine. And I'm about to be 40 in 2 months. And I just feel like, I don't know. I was surfing with my buddies. One is 19 and one is 32. I felt no different, even better than them. It's like, just like I didn't feel like I was the guy who was 40. I felt like I was 19 like them and 32.
Right.
So my point is, I don't know why. So does it, is it personal, or is it the cold water surfing, or is it the great lake surfing? Is it a combination of everything, all the factors? But my point is, sometimes I'm wondering, why am I doing that, and how can I do that, and how can my body endure such extreme cold, and does that contribute to health benefit, or does that make me at some point, fragile and proper to injury or sickness? I really don't have an answer to that. I have believed that it makes you stronger. I hope it does. Mentally for sure. I mean, physically for sure. But does it, does the cold can damage your body? And then, of course, and sometimes you get, sometimes I get cold. Once a year I would get a cold just because, it's just too much. It's too much on too much dampness and cold. But overall, I think you really keep you fit and strong. And yeah, to answer your question, it help you to keep going. Um, it's intense, so it is sincerely intense. It's sometimes you question, how can I do that? Like sometimes you'll be in a
Yeah.
big storm and you're like, how can my body take that? How can I keep paddling in the winds? And sometimes it gets dark and there's no visibility and you're by yourself and there's a big wave in the lake and you're like, that's crazy. But it is crazy because you think that somebody else thinks it's crazy, right? So when I think it's
Right.
crazy, I'm thinking my wife or my neighbor or my mom. My mom would say, "Don't." If I listen to my mom, I get so scared. Don't go in the lake. You're gonna be cold. It's dangerous. But then when I'm out there, I'm like, well, that's what I'm meant to be. That's what I want to do. That's just what I love, and that's what I'm supposed to do, and that's why I'm here.
I Are you familiar with Wim Hof? Because Wim would tell you that being in cold water for extended period of time is healthy for you. It's good for you because I don't know, I guess it's shocking your body a little bit to get out of that normal routine of being a soft, comfortable, being in the heat and whatnot, and then you get out there and you put your body through a little bit more extreme conditions and your body toughens up a little bit. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
No, no,
Wim
I'm not
Hof.
familiar with the person you're mentioning, but I'm familiar with the concept, and I do believe cold and warm and shocking your body. And I mean, this has been proven even in France, where I live. They have a club of people who are 90 years old who swim every day without a wetsuit in the ocean in the winter, and they swear by that, and they sing it's just the best thing for them. So I just think that in the Great Lakes with the windshield and the ice and the current, you really take it to a next level. But we also have great equipment and wetsuit and things like this, and we do it for a purpose of pleasure. But I do believe that it does create some immunity and some strength. And I mean, a lot of people tell me, "Ren, are you sick? You're so skinny." And always people tell me, "Oh, did you lose weight?" Like each time I see people, "Did you lose weight?" And I get so offended when people ask me if I lost weight. I get mad because I will always go home and weight myself, and I'm the same weight for like 20 years. I mean, simple
I
as
think people expect you, not just you, but right, people expect other people to put on weight as time goes on. I feel like that might be more of an American thing than anything, because obviously we have a bit more of an obesity problem in this country, and but I think that's where that comes from. I don't think that comes from uh, you know obviously people trying to insult you or anything like that, but most people here in this country unfortunately get bigger as time goes on. We don't stay the same.
Yeah, so and actually, I think so my point is like I've always been thin, and it's not necessarily about me from my probably my European genes and diet, but my personal. I'm thinner than anyone else in my family, but I think I'm so active too, right?
Mm,
Um, so my point to that, I think surfing, I really think that you burn surfing in 2 or 3 hours in the cold water. I mean, you burn more calories than some people will burn in 2 months in 2 hours. I mean, it's just there's no. This is what I'm saying. I don't know if the math are right, but
sure,
I feel
sure.
like I mean the intensity of the exercise and what is required for your body to stay warm, you burn a lot of calories. So I feel it's a tremendous physical exercise for sure.
One of the things you also talk about that I really like, and I'm hoping to get you to expand a little more on this idea, and that is to just be who you are, because it seems like for you, right, on a daily basis, you seem to wake up and know what you want to do, who you want to be, and you seem to be so comfortable in your own skin. And especially today with a lot of people, that's just not the case. So for you, what is it about pursuing your passion that allows you to just be free of all these, silly obligations that a lot of people have to engage in?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's a sensitive topic for me because sometimes I have the concern and worry and fear to be like I shouldn't say it like everybody else because that almost sounds like negative and but I'm saying like you would say like like somebody most people that just wake up and do something they don't like just because they don't believe in themselves or society have create struggle in their life, and there's a lot of people like that, including myself. So life always want to take you away from who you want to be and what you love, and just because we have to pay our bills and we have to feed our family and feed ourselves and all of that. But I'm a firm believer that we live in America. It's a beautiful country. We're so blessed to create a place to be free. And I think some people forget about that, and we forget about dreaming. And we think that dreaming is just the American dream is not driving a Ferrari or having a big home. Actually, the American dream is to be healthy and do what you love. And I think sometimes those movies just think the Hollywood movies and show the American dream, but I truly think this is not what it is. The American dream is to work hard to stay happy and healthy, and we have the ability to do that here. We have a lot of choices, and life will take you away from that. And people sometimes will take you. People will rob your dream, and they will just not because they're not good people, just because they themselves are scared or they don't have the mental strength to follow their own dreams. So they will sometimes see people who are happy or following their dream, and they will tell you, don't do that. It's going to hurt, or you're going to fall. You should do something else. So, I mean, even some of my neighbors, like multiple times, like my neighbors, they said, but Aurelien, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean what I'm doing? I said, what are you doing with this weird outfit and clothes? Where are you going? I'm going surfing. Well, you should be working. I'm like, well, this is not what I want to do now. I want to go surfing. It makes me happy. That's my life. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to just go walking. I'm here to go surfing.
Right.
And then they will judge me instantly. Say, well, you should be, doing something else. I'm like, well, but that's what's make me happy. And I will do the something else later. And, but I will have a great, I will feel good about myself when I come back from surfing, and then I can be productive and do something else. So I think we have to wake up in the morning and do what we love. And it may change, the what we love may take a different perspective, because I cannot surf every day, and I cannot get paid to only surf, but you start from there. That's the roots, and that's
right.
where you start, and then you modify the path, and you rebuild the wall and the house the way you want it, based on that foundation of what you love, and then you adapt it to reality and to your skills and to society and to the market or to the geographic place where you are. But it is possible, and I think a life should be based on a dream, on a passion. What the point to do something we don't like?
That's extremely well put, to be honest with you. Like, just being able to acknowledge what your dream is and have the courage to go pursue it is something that, like I said, a lot of people don't do. And this coming from someone who immigrated, who had very little to no English language, and has become so successful. And for me, when I talk about success, I mean, obviously I'm on the outside looking in. I don't know you. I don't live with you. I don't see you every single day. But what I do see is someone who knows what they're about, loves doing them and being who they are, and just continues to push that envelope. The question I would have to that is, how much is community a part of that? You mentioned before about how there's a wonderful Great Lakes surfing community. Is that really important to continuing to be who you are and being able to feel free enough to go do that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think community is everything. I also feel like sometimes, so there's different individual, and there are different walk of life and different path, and some people will need community to do what they want to do. Some people will do what they want to do and then kind of give back to the community, and some people will just be themselves and maybe inspire the community, and some people will just inspire to be part of a community. I mean, there are so different dynamic, but I will say that I'm very blessed to have met a lot of people who have inspired me, and I'm very blessed to. I've met a lot of people in general in the Great Lakes in Canada who love the same passion, and some people who outside of what I love, surfing, that just love what they do. I have friends who kite surf, I have friends who windsurf, I have friends who hike, I have friends who just like to take pictures. But those people just love what they do and they're passionate, and I'm so lucky to have been able to. Some people have told me that I inspired them. I've never even realized I will ever inspire somebody by. But I had people sending me messages and says, "Thanks for sharing those surfing pictures in the winter. You make me believing in the fact that something fun can be done in the winter. You make me realize that Rochester is a cool place, and you make me realize Great Lake surfing is nice. And when you receive a message like that, you're like, wow, this is interesting. I'm just being myself and do what I love. But actually, somehow, somewhere, maybe I'm inspiring somebody to stretch his comfort zone or to brave the cold or to catch a surfboard and go surfing. Or I have some people who don't surf and don't want to surf, but still say, hey, I'm looking forward to your next adventure. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, well, I follow you and I'm looking forward to the next adventure. And I was almost confused. Like, I feel almost like violated in my privacy. Like, what do you mean? You're looking forward for my next adventure? And they say, well, it's encouraging me and you make me travel because I can travel. Or some people are older and they, and they just look at the picture and they think it's cool. And then you realize, well, yeah, this is just not about me. It's about community. And, and it's about people and it's about sharing and loving and inspiring and and I think the COVID have done that more. It's like people realize what they have around them and the importance of community. And I think the Great Lakes community overall is pretty special. I'm so fortunate, so blessed that I can go in any lake, very humble way. I can go in any lake and see friends, good people who love surfing, people who just love the outdoors, and shake hands and have a coffee or beer, and then and stay in their home, or they can come at home. I mean, yeah, it's a blessing.
So when you're
Beautiful,
doing,
beautiful people everywhere.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it seems to be, at least from your Instagram posts and the things I've seen on YouTube, your adventures, if you will, right? Going out there and meeting new people and getting an opportunity to find people who are as passionate as you about this. When you're out there and you're going surfing, for a lot, I'll compare this to fishing, for example. A lot of people have their secret fishing spot. They won't tell anybody where it is. They won't tell you where they caught the big one. Is that similar in the surfing community? Are there spots that you won't tell anybody, or maybe in last time we talked, you had mentioned like you kind of have I want you to do the work to get to the point where okay, here you go. Here's the secret spot that I like to go to because you want to see a little bit more input, or how does that work in your community? Because to me, the way
Uh,
you talked about it last time, it sounded very much like fishing. Like I can't tell people
yeah,
my secret watering hole.
it's a very good question. It can be very tricky question too. I'm gonna answer in many different way and many different dynamic. There's the human being. There's a surfer. There's the person who is involved in the surfing industry, and there's just the human being, the person who wants to share. So genuinely, we all want to share. Sharing is loving. Sharing is caring. Nobody owns anyone or anything. The lakes are a public place, and you want as many people to enjoy it. But sometimes with enjoyment and crowd comes conflict. Some people may not respect the places, or they will litter, or they will, there's a lot of things that come with crowd. And we're so blessed in the Great Lakes to be in a place where it's still undiscovered. It's a growing community. There are people that have been surfing uh, from the 60s. So there's people that have done that way before us. And we have pioneered those lakes. And I think that's important to share. But my point to that is we live in a very uncrowded place, and that's the beauty of it, and that's special, and that's something to be protected too. Because if you go on the East Coast, on the West Coast, or even in France, you can catch a wave. There's 300 people. People are not smiling or talking to each other. They just want to grab a wave. Some of them are rude or aggressive. It's the stereotype of surfer. Hey, don't touch my wave. So I never
Right.
personally want to be that person. If I see somebody in the water, I'm like, you know what? That's amazing. Uh, I respect them. I smile. I will introduce myself, especially in the lakes. Everybody's pretty much friendly, and it's a blessing to always see a familiar face. But I will be more said, the person that will say to someone, well, I can maybe loan you a fishing pole. I can teach you how to fish. But I can't quite tell you where to fish. if,
Right,
you
right,
catch,
right.
if you catch a big fish, good for you. I'm not saying you have to tell me either or share with me. It's up to you. But the technology has changed everything and the dynamic of surfing. And sometimes, personally, it drives me nuts when people will surf and they will hashtag or put a location of exactly where they are. I just never quite understood the concept, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I'm not saying I'm not judging them. But I always try to be very vague about where I serve because I work extremely hard. Uh, Not speaking English, not having a car, not knowing the geographic place. I work so hard to access those places, and I have so much respect and love for those places that I just try to keep them low key. But if I ever see someone in those places, I will always welcome them and tell them that this is their home. So my point to that, I feel like people have to earn their way. There's no, it's like if you, I have a lot of friends of mine that are extremely wealthy, but they
Mhm.
work extremely hard for what they have. And I will go to their home and, if I will ask them for their car, say, hey, yeah, you have a Ferrari. How come you have a Ferrari and I'm driving a Toyota, right? They're probably not going to tell me, Aurelien,
Right.
I'm not going to ask them for their car, and they're probably not going to give me their car. But I would probably ask them, hey, what's the mindset to become successful? Or which book did you read last month? Or there's any way you can, teach me some skills for negotiation or anything, and then they probably will share with me and be super happy to share with me. But they're not going to give me their money or their car, but they're going to give me their time, their knowledge, and it's up to me to learn and to do whatever I want to do with it. So I feel like you have to earn your way, but there's room for everybody. And if somebody wants it hard enough, they will find a place. It's
Right, right. Well, it seems to be more valuable, right? So, from your perspective, as someone who's in the industry, someone who is a surfer, someone who is a person, right, who wants to encourage people to, give it a shot, it seems to be there's a nice starting point, and then for you as a mentor, you want to almost challenge them to find those places on their own, not because you want it to be hard for them, but you want it to be more special for them. Because if it's that much more special, they're probably going to do it more often and be a larger part of the community, and that's how you build a larger fan base for the Great Lakes, not just by giving people, here, use this board, use that wetsuit, go to this spot at this time and you'll be good. There's no
correct.
passion in it. You're just handing them the keys.
Correct. And I'm in the industry, and I could encourage. If I wanted to make more income and sell more product, I will encourage everybody to go and surf. But I
Right.
don't do that. I don't do that. I can recognize from inquiries who is serious, who is motivated, who is truly someone that wants to do it just because he wants to challenge himself, or he loves the outdoors, or he loves the water, or he loves surfing. You know, I mean, there are many businesses or companies or people who just try to sell as many product as they can to someone and say, just go surfing. I don't find it to be organic. We're not selling a board or wetsuit. We're selling a lifestyle and a culture and a lifelong passion. Um, and surfing comes with adventure, and that's what surfing is. Surfing is a search. That's not just like, it's like you mentioned fishing, or it's not like you go to a tennis court and you know where the tennis court is. No, the tennis court is moving all the time, and
Mm.
and you change colors and faces and places, and then you have to adapt, and that adaptation, that makes the sport special, and you just have to just chase it.
What a phrase. The tennis court is moving all the time. I like that phrase. That kind of sums it up really well, because yeah, in the arena of surfing, you're never going to catch the same wave, are you?
There's never gonna You're never gonna catch the same wave, and even at the same place, and it's never gonna look the same. On Monday or Tuesday, or a west wind or a northeast wind, or it's never the same. Everything is changing. Everything is fickle. Everything is it's moving, and that's all those moving parts that make it so special, because it requires so much time and work and discipline. And you try to make it a science, but you never know it all. I mean, I have friends who tell me, "I know it all." Then good for you if you know it all, but you you don't know what's going to happen when you're going to come to that place. You can guess, you can be close to the reality, but Mother Nature always does whatever she wants. And that's what makes this sport special. We are the mercy of Mother Nature, and we are nothing. And we think we know it all. And I myself think I know everything about Lake Ontario or Lake Erie or the Great Lakes, but I don't. I'm humble, and I learn each time I go. And Mother Nature does everything she wants. She just changed the course of the storm,
Mm.
and the scientists forecast 20 feet wave, and you go there and it's like 5 feet. And sometimes they forecast no wave, and you heard that you missed a beautiful storm.
Yeah.
The way it is. That's why you have to
So
be there, you know.
so for Lake Ontario, for Mother Nature in in this regard, something that was pretty impactful a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Prop 2014, and a lot of people were complaining because Lake Ontario, the water levels they
Correct.
rose quite a bit. There's a lot of homes unfortunately impacted that got flooded, a lot of damage occurred, but is there a bright spot for surfing? Like, did that impact what you saw on the water a couple of years ago?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, it was even it was much like, I mean, you're talking like even 2 years ago. We had
Yeah.
very high level of water, and it did impact the surfing. Actually, it was not as good. Too much water, I feel like it doesn't create good wave.
Hmm.
But I would some spots will be different. But yes, and a lot of people were impacted. A lot of people lost a lot of money, part of their home. It was pretty dramatic. But there's so much around it. It's regulated by states and countries and between Canada, and there's so much around it.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it did affect the surf, and it was not as good. And a
I
lower
would see.
level of water, I think, in certain spots and most of the spot, I would think create a better wave.
I
But
see. I would think the opposite. I would think more water is better because you have more surface area to create
I
waves.
mean,
I see.
and
I
again,
don't know anything.
this is my analogy of it, but it will depend on the spot. It will depend on a lot of things. But too much water is not necessarily that good. If you have no beach to walk and then it totally recover a reef area, or I think it depends on the context and the case and the place. And some spot may be better with more water, and some I think will be better with less water. But I did think that when we had a lot of water, I think the wave were not as good.
Mm. So is it so what you were just talking about, like reefs? So if the water level gets higher, right? I think at one point it was like 3 or 4 feet higher or something like that. It was pretty significant. When it gets away from the reef, is that also part of the reason why a wave might not be?
Well, in my understanding and my analogy of it, but again, I'm not a scientist or an expert on that topic or subject. So some people may say, "Hey, he doesn't know what he's talking about." But in my understanding of some of those places that serve too much water, will there's less room and space, for the wave to actually hit that reef or that surface or that sandbar. It doesn't break as well and as nice.
Gotcha.
That's something to verify, but all I can tell you is when we had more water, I felt like we had less wave and they were not as good.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't know what I'm talking about either, so you're far more an expert than I am. I'm just asking the questions just to see.
Mhm.
But let's keep going. So it's 2021, right? You just went surfing, I think a couple of days ago.
Yeah, yeah,
There's less ice right now.
mhm.
What does the future look like for Great Lakes surfing? Is there something that's coming that, whether it's a new product, like a different type of wetsuit or a different board, is there something else that's coming that you're excited about for the future of Great Lakes surfing?
I mean, I'm excited about the potential of just traveling more and catching bigger wave on the lakes and pushing the limit of what can be done and exposing it to the world of surfing even more and said, hey, this is legit. This is a culture. This is a really respected, respectful community, and those people are legit. So we've been working hard to kind of do that. But there are so many beautiful people in so many area of the lake doing the same thing or even more work to bring credibility in the world of surfing from what we do and where we live. But I can't think about any new products or anything, but I can think about a lot of more people getting to surf and embracing it, men, women, older people. I'm super excited about seeing some. There's a kid in Lake Michigan. He's really a good surfer. He's 8 years old. I think he just turned 9, and I'm looking forward to bring him to. I mean, not to bring him, but to invite him and go with them and his parents. Uh, and maybe a couple other friends to New Jersey to surf his first ocean wave with 2 professional surfers. That would be something that I would have dreamed about personally when I was a kid. So that's something that I've been working on to try to do that with them. So I think it would be super special for that. One of the youngest Great Lakes surfer actually to go to the ocean, catch his first wave with 2 professional surfers. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, for sure.
And he's stoked. He's really excited about it, and including a novelty wave, like a fairy wave, a wave that is created by a fairy that a friend of mine, who is a very famous surfer now, and kind of a novelty surfer and a YouTube guy, and super, has a massive amount of following. He surfed 50 states of America. What about that? He made it happen.
You
And
can surf all 50 states?
he did.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so that's the answer. He did. Um,
Right.
he really did. He did. You should look at it. Look him up. His name is Ben Gravy. It's super interesting. He's a friend. But yeah, the kid, this young boy will love to do that. So that's one of my projects that I think is exciting, to push younger people and to keep showing how great the Great Lakes are. I kind of wanted to do a professional surfing competition. I wanted to invite some of the best surfers on the East Coast and West Coast, and host the competition on Lake Ontario on a very, very gnarly, cold, windy, the most extreme day. And I was excited to bring some of those Californian people who surf in the warm, and to show them how
Sure.
legit and cold and brutal it can be, and to see how they react and will serve that place. That's something I had in mind for a long time. I don't know if logistically I will do it, because the COVID have changed that. I was supposed to do it last year and then I didn't do it. So if the excitement stay, I will work on that and potentially do that one day. Host that first ever surfing competition in the Great Lakes and have some of the best surfer on the East Coast and West Coast battle for a title on the most gnarly cold Lake Ontario wave on a winter day. I think that's cool. That excites me a lot, actually.
That would be pretty cool, especially if you had a crowd of a few people and maybe an announcer who understood a lot about Lake Ontario surfing or Great Lake surfing in general, so that people could understand what they're seeing. Because one of the things that I've noticed, and I don't know if you've seen this as well, so somebody like me who maybe I'll never get into surfing, but if I understand more of the technical details as to what I'm seeing, so if I see a picture of you on a board going down a wave, right, and you're doing a move, maybe I don't know, right, I don't understand the technical details of what you're doing and what you're accomplishing, and I wonder how much of that could impact eyeballs on the sport. Is that something you've ever considered or thought about?
Yeah, that's. It's very important to, if you for in that context of hosting a competition, it's very important to have good judge. And so many people think they know surfing or they understand surfing, but competitive surfing is very different, actually. And there are so many competitions that we did in the Great Lakes where I realized some judges, they really sincerely didn't really know what they were supposed to judge people on, and they will give a good score just because somebody will ride away for a long time. But who cares? Somebody can ride away for 2 hours. If he doesn't make a turn or any technical maneuver, it does not matter. If you get someone who make a very sharp turn, vertical turn on one wave, and that's all he does, and you see someone just riding the wave for 2 hours, what's not possible, it's just an example, but
Sure.
doesn't make any move, well, the person that ride it for 20 seconds and made a vertical turn deserve more points than the person who will ride for 2 hours doing absolutely no turns. So it's actually very challenging and it's very technical to judge surfing, and to have the proper person to judge during an event will be really important, and it will bring tremendous value to the Great Lakes surfer. My idea for that competition was to have Great Lakes surfer pairing, not necessarily competing, but pairing as a team with a professional surfer, so they can. So it brings respect from the professional surfer, because they don't have a choice; they have to pair with somebody from the Great Lakes with a local, knowing that more than likely they won't be as talented and as good, but that will bring some instant respect. And then the Great Lakes surfer will have instant gratification, but also will be able to look up and learn from those professional surfers and see what's possible. And that event, in my mind, in my eyes, will bring surfing, Great Lakes surfing, much
Yeah.
more visibility, credibility, but also will bring a platform for people to learn and grow and get better.
Yeah, I actually really like that idea, especially in when you're talking about pairing them up and being able, because it's not just someone who's a professional surfer being able to, maybe give tips or talk about, technically how they're doing what they're doing, but at the same time, the Great Lakes surfer can probably give the pro some advice, because I imagine that surfing in Lake Ontario is not like surfing in the Pacific Ocean in Southern
Correct.
California or the south of France. I'm sure it's completely different. So
Yeah. So as I'm talking, I'm glad we talked about that because I kind of lost a little bit of that idea. I had it for a long time in my mind. I was really supposed to put it off, and then the COVID, and but now I'm thinking it's still there. So maybe next year.
hey, listen, I think that there's some legitimacy to that. I think that would be a ton of fun, and I would love to be able to, be a part of it if there's something I could do to
Yeah,
help. If it ever comes to, fruition, reach out. If there's something I could do, I would love to do it because I think that not only would you be bringing the sport elevated, but the thing that I like about what you're talking about, what you do is it's also a region, right? You're elevating the region. Come to Rochester to check out some surfing,
yeah, and I really, I just always, I never think about, myself. I always try to think about Lake Ontario and then Great Lakes and then surfing and then sometimes even think about New York State. Like I always, I just feel like it's more than just me or even surfing. It's just putting a lifestyle, a culture, but also a place where people live, an area like upstate New York, like some people, hey, there's nothing to do upstate New York. There's nothing to do in New York. There's nothing to do. And actually it's beautiful. So much to it. So it's bringing much more than just the sport of surfing actually, or Lake Ontario. It's really like an area where people can realize, and a lot of do, but a lot of don't obviously, saying that there are things to do in the winter. There are things to explore. There are beautiful places to go. There are a lot of things to take advantage of. It's not in California. It's not in Florida. It's not in Rhode Island.
Right.
It's not in Hawaii. Actually, to be honest with you, like people say, I had an argument with my friend not too long ago. He said, Aurelien, you should move to Hawaii. And I'm like, why? Why? I don't understand why you say I should move to Hawaii. And he's like, well, Aurelien, you're cold and you're surfing a lake. But I said, listen, people are where they want to be. I'm not asking, he lives in Mexico. I said, I'm not asking you to leave Mexico to go to Peru. I'm assuming in Mexico, and it's a good example actually, Mexico, because we have so many preconceived notions. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, it's dangerous. Why you live in Mexico? But you always tell me how happy he is and how beautiful it is. So I said, well, you think that I'm living in Lake Ontario, I should be in Hawaii. But actually, where I live, it's beautiful. And what I do, I love it. And I don't want to be in Hawaii, actually. I'd rather be in Rochester.
I love it, man. I love it. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on, talking to me, giving me some time. I'm hoping sometime this week, maybe next week, if the waves are out, I'll be able to come out and meet you, maybe take a couple of pictures, watch you catch a couple of waves. It'd be a ton of fun.
Yeah, actually, we should do that. So I'm going to go down in my surf room, and I'm going to pick up a hat, and I'm going to put it on the side, so I remember I remind myself to bring it to you, and it'd be a good excuse to meet. So you like black or gray? I see you have a gray and a black now. So
I'm indifferent. I'm not picky.
All right, cool. So I will put it aside for you, and then what I will do is I will send you a message when I see a wave and when I'm going to go surfing. And if you're flexible, then we can meet. That'd be awesome.
I can be flexible. For you to see that, I can be flexible. Don't worry. But again, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully we'll be able to meet up soon, man.
Thank you.